morgens raus, die Schicht beginnt. Airport im Moos, Luft rein und klar. Die großen Vögel wollen starten. Runway 08, sehr viel Verkehr.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends, colleagues and listeners, we've got a great episode this morning. It's somebody that's probably known as Mr. M, and I'm not sure now whether that stands for his first name, Michael, or whether it's just Munich, but the two go together hand in glove. So it's a great pleasure to have Dr. Michael Kerkloh with us. Thank you very, very much for coming on board. Really appreciate it, Michael.
Good morning. I appreciate it as well.
Lovely, lovely. Now, I always ask everybody, why did you agree to come on the podcast?
Well, I was forced to. Oh, that's the serious question. But the other one is, well, I'm interested in this new format. I didn't do that often.
Yep.
Yet.
Yep.
Maybe that's the future, of communicating, and I love it. Thank you.
Very good, very good. Obviously, we'll be focusing on living ideas and connecting lives because it's a great tagline, and you've been instrumental in so much here.
That's
at
our brand.
Munich.
That's our brand.
It's beautiful.
We're a communication hub.
Yep.
It's all about communication,
Yep.
and physical, mental communication. And that's what we are there for and what we work for.
Very, very good. Now, can I ask you, obviously everybody knows that you're going to be handing over the mantle at the end of the year. So to look back on all the successes, and they've been huge, and that's one of the things that we want to focus on today. But most people come into this industry by mistake. How did you get into this industry?
Well, maybe it was not a mistake, but I was never intending to become a top manager. That was a little bit by chance. But I was always interested in transport industry, in infrastructure.
Yeah.
Part of my studies, I'm an economist, and I focused on economic policy, and one of my specialties was then also infrastructure policy, transport policy. And so that was in the end the framework, which I found interesting. But frankly speaking, when I was very, very young, I loved railways because I was raised not in a big city, but in a small city. So air traffic, and what now is familiar to everyone, was very, very, very far away.
Yeah,
I do remember my first flight was from Düsseldorf to Birmingham, by the way, because I was happy to stay in an English boarding school, by the way.
Ah, which one?
The Warwick.
Okay.
Warwick school for a few months, and on my way back, that was my first flight. Yeah, with a Vickers Viscount, by the way.
Okay, blimey.
Very bumpy. To Heathrow and then back to Düsseldorf. I had to, from Birmingham to Düsseldorf, which is only, 300 miles or something like that. I had to connect through Heathrow.
Okay, that was good.
But that was sort of a totally different world. So I was raised in a small city, and of course, the gateway to the world was the rail, and not the air.
Yeah.
I was always interested in the world, and the world became bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
My first world was maybe 50 kilometers around my hometown, which is in Westphalia, and then of course it became bigger and bigger and bigger. And through my educational progress I made, I studied at different universities and so on. I finally landed in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
And Frankfurt has a big airport. And I had some friends there. And then there was a time to ask them, do you have a job for me?
And
that's only 30 years later.
Yeah, but that's how it all started.
Yeah.
Now, an interesting approach, because I had the pleasure of meeting a lot of the Munich Airport guys during an ORAT exercise in Doha when I was with Qatar Airways. and I found them very professional, very, very, very good. So you must have had this vision, or it was part of a vision where you wanted to expand and not just be here in Munich. How did that come about?
No, the point is, it's in the end, it's a management philosophy, yeah, and a leadership concept. You can have an open leadership concept, a concept where you like dialogue.
Yep.
And where you like to give chances to people. You can have a closed shop. And our idea was always to open it up and to open the world for our staff. I mean, airport business is interesting because it's very, very local.
Yeah.
On the one hand side,
and then
global. We do have the whole neighborhood issues, expansion issues, financing issues. You do represent the company, so you are a public figure, very locally. And on the other hand, you are connected to the whole world.
Yep.
And most of the people that work at airports, they are very local people, very basic people. Yeah, we do have a large proportion of non-university people.
Yep.
Yeah, just very, very basic. They love to work here. And on the other hand, we do have the eggheads and all the specialists that you meet in Doha, and to give them this opportunity to see how others develop, what they do, other cultures in the end also. That's something you can do with your company.
Yep.
You can allow it or you don't allow it.
Exactly.
And we are an open company. We allow it.
No, it's good. And obviously, you had a great career. Now, you just mentioned there about giving people opportunities. Can you relate to anybody who gave you that first sort of, that drive, that spark, that engagement? Who was a real mentor or a coach for you?
Well, it was always, when I look back to my career, I always had mentors or who believed in you. Yep. The interesting thing is that sometimes you don't see things by yourself. Exactly. That others see your talents maybe or your
potential gifts. Yeah.
Gifts that you have. And one of the things I learned was that to listen to them. Yeah. Because your own perception versus the perception of others may not be the same.
Yeah.
And
no,
to trust,
isn't, yeah.
To trust in the judgment of others, referring to your own personality, is a thing that's really a good thing. And to listen to them, and if they do see something in yourself, potentials maybe that you don't see for yourself, then it is always worthwhile to listen to them and follow their advice. And I had, during my whole career, I always had people who believed in me. But the other part of that is also that if they think you should take over some responsibility, you also have to say, yes, I take it.
Yes, never say no.
Because that's the other part.
Yeah.
You may not be interested in their comments or don't believe them. Maybe also out of a certain fear or respect, whatever that the new tasks may have. But then you also have to jump. You have to, in the end, somebody says, well, why don't you become, for example, when I was asked to become managing director of Hamburg Airport, and I was only in the middle management of Frankfurt, and I would have never thought that out of the middle management of Frankfurt Airport, somebody would ever identify me to go on and get this big job. I was very surprised, and my first impulse was, I never can do that. I don't have also the professional knowledge that you need for that. But others thought I had.
Yeah.
So in the end, then I decided.
Did you find out from them, or did you realize what it was that you had that they seen at the time?
Well, maybe they were interested more in meta qualifications than in professional knowledge, leadership is a very special thing.
Yep.
And I don't know whether you can learn that to become a good leader. It's probably good if you have some natural talents in that. Communication is the key in that.
Yep.
And obviously there were a lot of people that believed in me. And then I grew with their expectations in the end,
Yeah, no, very good. And also, I've got a long background with Lufthansa. I was 29 years with them, so fantastic company. And I know Lufthansa's played a big history and a big part of the history with Munich as a partner.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is unique in Europe. We have formed a joint venture about 20 years ago.
Yep.
Which was some kind of breaking a taboo, because in old times, I call them old times, 20 years ago, airlines and airports had their own worlds of perception. The airports always are long-term oriented. Of course, there were more monopolies than there are now. Many of them were publicly owned, and airlines considered them to be very inefficient. And airlines were, at least with the perception of airports, very arrogant, other sphere, the kings of the sky, and looked down to airports, because airport was a dirty business, and a very, very nice business, in the skies with the pilots and the stewardesses, and all the images they produce. So there was a big imbalance, and I think we have achieved now in Munich, but that took a lot of years. That we are now on eye level and respect each other. We are as professional as the airlines are, sometimes even more. I mean, sometimes we do more about airlines because we know them all.
Yep.
Than if you have just the perspective of one airline.
Yeah.
And they do respect us now. But the joint venture helped us in, of course, getting a deeper knowledge on airline business. We do understand the requirements and the needs of an airline to perform in the short term.
But it's been a fantastic model, huh?
And we started an experiment in the end, not only designing, constructing, and operating a joint terminal or joint terminal complex as it is now, but also sharing the revenues.
Yep.
Which was a taboo for airports, to share any revenue with airlines.
Yep.
But I think we have proven that it is a very, very successful model for both sides.
Yeah, no.
And the equilibrium that you have to look at, or that you in the end have to work for, was a shaky one, but gets more and more stable. But that's also due to the fact that there's enough respect now, and that you now understand that you should not, each side understands, that there are some red lines that should not be crossed, also not emotionally.
Yeah.
And but in the end, all is dependent on a trustful relationship of those who manage that. So the selection of these people who are at the interface of this relationship is of utmost importance, because if you don't have this cooperative mindset, this collaboration mindset, then it will not work. So I think one of the most important tasks that you have as a manager is to find the right people for the right job.
But also knowing that that's an ingredient that's so important.
Yeah.
And focusing on it, that's brilliant. Now, how planned or how lucky was the decision to have Lufthansa as the partner with Munich instead of maybe Lufthansa in Berlin or anywhere else?
I think it was a window of opportunity, because what we have now, an established hub, an established second hub in Germany, with the same or nearly the same connectivity than Frankfurt. I don't know whether you have noticed that OAG just ranked Munich number 5 in worldwide connectivity.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
That I think was not seen yet in the 90s when this opportunity was sort of designed. It was window of opportunity also meant that was after reunification in Germany.
Yeah.
And of course there was a process of getting East Germany quickly to the standards of West Germany. So rules and regulations were loosened to get things done. So there was also the opportunity of having a new Berlin airport.
Yep.
And we were sort of competing a little bit with that development. And at that time we had a very good political backup here in Bavaria. With the ruling party, the Christian Social Union. They believed in aviation. I mean, their boss was Franz Josef Strauss, one of the fathers of Airbus.
Yeah.
And he also backed the airport development. By the way, it was very controversial also at that time. But finally, it was built and relocated from the city.
Which was a big thing as well. I remember.
Yeah, we developed a business branch out of that, relocating airports.
Yeah.
What you now know as ORAD, Operational Readiness and Transfer.
Exactly.
Which is a product now, which we had exclusively, I think, for 15 years. Now we have, of course, we are copied in Asia and so on. But that was a specialty, so we were always engaged when there was another airport being opened, for example, KL, Kuala Lumpur, or Athens. They all engaged us, and we are still, by the way, we have still an engagement to relocate Berlin.
Yeah.
After 20 years.
After 20 years, yeah.
So that had developed, but we had to be fast. Although the airport opened 2 years later than planned. And we also profited from the congestion in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
So Lufthansa thought about, can we at least establish a small European hub? And that was the start of it all. And it grew now to an intercontinental hub with only the fleet Lufthansa has based in Munich is around 130 aircraft. Just the Lufthansa Munich is bigger than Alitalia.
Yeah, that's incredible, huh?
And it's as big as Austrian and Swiss together. Yeah, so it's really big. Then the design was very, very good, and of course, a new airport always is nice. You don't have all these problems.
Yeah. I remember the old airport though. I used to love flying in there.
To Riem.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. Yeah. Lovely, nice little terminal. It was good.
Yeah, don't ask the neighbors because they died because of the noise.
Yeah.
But it's still that Munich citizens they forgot about the noise, but emotionally they loved just to have 10 minutes from the city center to go to the airport.
Yeah.
And they have not, in the end, of course, you don't realize all the facts that aviation has totally changed and capacity things. I mean, Wien Airport was, I think when we moved was 11 million passengers, and now we have nearly 50. Yeah, so
that's fantastic. I love the statement that you gave from being an airport to an airport city.
Yeah,
and when you look at everything here, I mean, you've got entertainment here. You've got it's amazing. Now, if you were to start your career over again, and you were a young man, what would attract you to work in here?
I'm still a young man.
We're all young to us in our minds. We're all young in our minds. I wish we were as young as I'm thinking at the moment. But if you were, let's say, in your mid-20s, okay, and somebody said to you now, would you like to work at Munich Airport instead of blah blah blah? What do you think you would say now if you were selling to a group of youngsters why they should come to Munich as opposed to any other airport that you've experienced?
Well, there's no better place to get acquainted to the whole world, on different levels.
Yeah.
One is what I really find fantastic at this airport. People who work here, around 38,000 at the moment, represent or represent the average of the society. So we don't have billions of eggheads here, and all these people who do want to do something with marketing or do something with media. No, we are a very down-to-earth organization.
Yeah.
With still a lot of blue-collar work, which you don't see very often anymore, but which is the backbone of the functioning of this society. And on the other hand, we of course have all these specialists, all these intelligent people, well-educated, IT. And we are also a technical company with very, very complicated maintenance issues. We are very operational, and we are also a service company. So you have all aspects that you normally do have in dozens of companies on one campus, and also in one company, because we also provide
everything.
these services operationally. I know that's an exception when you look at the airport world, but we have our understanding was that in the end it is good to understand all aspects of the airport, and it will help if you are operationally involved in that by yourself. So we have a very holistic view on what happens. We have a very holistic view on the passenger, who is our end customer, and we have I think a deep understanding of the relationships of the different parts of the airport, because nobody can be successful alone.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It's all teamwork. And if we get prizes and things like that, it's always for the whole organization. It's not for the management. It's for the people who in the end provide these services every day, 365 days, 24/7. That's really a great job. An airport is always open.
Yeah, but that comes across well from yourself, the humility and respect for the entire team. But taking the fact that you can't do everything yourself, from an airport perspective, you've got so much more oversight, interface and control of your own airport than most others. And your average consultant would say to you, no, you need to let people do what they're specialists at, and you focus on what you'll go. But you've taken it completely in a different direction, which personally I think is a great thing.
Well, we always have the financial investors who say, why do you do this, outsource that, you can make more profits.
Yeah.
But the surprising thing is that we are a very profitable company. When you would follow the rationale of financial investors, we could not be profitable. I know that we have parts of the company with low margins, but that's normal. If you're in ground handling or in passenger handling, you need nothing.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think the service that we provide, especially in the B2B business with our airlines, I think they appreciate that we know the whole process, and that especially in non-normal operational procedures, I think we have the capability to react much quicker, to understand problems much quicker, and to provide solutions that have this holistic perspective. For example, like total airport management.
Exactly.
Where we say we bring all these people together, bring ATC together with the airlines and the airport, for example, to improve the delay situation.
Yep.
And only if all these parts work together, it will work.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. And a question for you. I mean, obviously, I'm looking. I can't miss it. The marketing and the branding and everything. But the model that you've built, you're actually able to influence the image, the picture, the culture of that airport. And do you not think now that airports with so much competition, they have to come together with the community and almost lead it, so that every single part of that community, whatever they do, they should be doing with one focus, which is that they're marketing the airport against other airports to bring customers and to appreciate that they need to keep customers. So you've managed to do it in such a unique way.
Well, we branded the airport, but it's not a logo that we have. Our M, of course, is well known.
Yep.
But the brand addresses an attitude.
Yep.
And when you look at our brand, it has this element that we call the connector.
Yep.
The connector has 4 colors, which just addresses the variety of what you can experience, also emotionally.
Yep.
But we are there for connecting ideas, people, businesses, but also we do address the necessary quality of the relationship to the neighborhood, for example, or to media, or to politics, or within the whole group. Yeah,
Yep.
because the larger you get, the more you have to focus on good communication, on a good connectivity level, so people
Yep.
understand what you want to do, and what it is necessary by them to contribute to a good relationship
Yep.
amongst each other. And because they all contribute to this one big thing, being a five-star airport.
Exactly, that's you had to get that one in, Mike, eh?
Yeah.
5-star.
Yeah,
And it's also growing the cake.
yeah.
And if
also
everybody
growing
grows the cake together,
Yeah.
then you can decide who gets what slice rather than the way
that's
other
right.
people are doing
Yeah.
it. They focus on
yeah, but
their slice instead of the cake.
I would always say it is one of the prime requirements that management understands that the whole thing only works when you pay a sufficient respect to every single person.
Yep.
So a cleaner for me is as important for the 5-star
Yep.
than a good manager who has responsible for a unit or whatever for a department.
Yeah.
And this cleaner or a baggage handler, or a security agent should personally feel that he's part of the whole big thing.
That's it.
It does not always work, but
But the purpose, the why.
The intention is there to address it. We have this brand, which is the basis, also for the managers, which they can take and explain.
Yep.
To bring over this message, and then it also requires a lot regarding to your own attitude.
Yep.
Yeah. Because you are also part of this big thing.
Yep.
But it requires a very respectful management towards everyone in the organization.
Yeah.
And respect also means, mistakes happen.
That's it.
But,
Fail fast.
But fail fast. But it also would require an openness to cope with situations. It would then require also an openness to allow fast learning curves. So as mistakes can be made, but it's a chance for improving on your learning curve faster.
Exactly.
And wherever it is possible, there should not be an atmosphere of fear and anxiety. But that's, I at least do certainly see different business models with airports.
Yep.
It depends very much on top management whether it's allowed or not.
It's one thing having a car, but it's the way you drive it.
Yeah.
But your story about the cleaner, that's a lovely one, and that reminds me of something John F. Kennedy with the space program, and he was being shown around, and he kept seeing this cleaner. He seen him in the canteen, in the boardroom, everywhere. And when they finished, and everybody was flocking around him, like always happens when the top man comes somewhere. And one of them said, "Is there anything else you'd like to see?" And he said, "Yeah, I'd like to meet that gentleman that was here, 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 and here." And they said, "Yeah." They went up, and he said, "The president would like to meet you." And he said, "Can I know your name?" He told him his name, and he said, "Obviously you know who I am." He said, "Yes, of course I do, sir." And he said, "Can I ask you what you're doing here?" And he said, "Yep, I'm helping put a man on the moon." And
that's exactly the thing.
He had the bigger picture. And I think the sad thing sometimes today, you look at people in certain positions where they should have the big picture, and they totally lose it.
I do know that the world is not always an ideal one. We also have a lot of deficiencies, but the brand is a very good platform to address this issue all the time.
Yes.
You just can rely on the brand. It also contains, for example, sustainability goals. And
yeah.
But it's about partnership. It's about communication. You have to communicate. I mean, if people don't know what you want, I mean, they can't follow you.
No.
Can't become followers.
No.
So that's important to get followers.
Yeah, storyline.
Yeah.
And you've got your story, and managers and everybody else, they can look and they say, this is what it means, this is what management, etc. I think it's excellent. Now, another thing that I also am impressed with is I love innovation chambers or labs or whatever, and you've got your lab campus. Do you want to just give us a little bit of background on that?
Well, the context is, of course, that the business models of airports financially are under pressure.
Yep.
So we have the firm belief that revenues from the classic aviation side will decrease relatively. So we have to find new business opportunities to, in the end, finance our whole agenda. Lab Campus is this idea to provide not only physically an area, but also organizationally a space where companies, startups, big brands, universities, tech institutes, research, plus airport professionals to provide a ground for them to collaborate and to work on solutions for problems that we have, future challenges that we have, may it be digital, may it be security, may it be KI, for example. I mean, our baggage process still is, from the 19th century. Yeah, we have just people loading from the baggage belt to the aircraft, and the idea is look at these topics, collaborate. So manufacturers collaborate with IT companies, and the opportunity then to test it at the airport.
Yep.
So whatever you, for example, you develop a new app, or you think about, well, how can I reach in the digital age the end customer at the airport, and make revenue with him.
Yep.
We have this airport, the campus, where you can test it.
Yeah.
So that's the idea behind it, and campus also addresses a quality of a new work sphere. We don't just want to have a business park. I mean, business parks are boring.
Yeah.
But we want to create an environment where people, just by the atmosphere, become creative. We are thinking about also boarding houses for people live there. It's not only a business park, but we'll have the opportunity to live there.
That's fantastic.
And we will have, we are thinking about a boulevard that goes through this lab campus, restaurants, clubs, and so on, so that in the end, the normal separation that you have between, you work here and you have your leisure life, that will sort of be...
blend into one,
merge a little bit.
Yeah, and plus it's great because you're bringing revenues, you've got everybody feeling part of it.
Of course, for the young people, new innovative work environment is also necessary. All these questions are addressed, and we try to design it like that, attract these businesses to come to the airport. Yeah. That's in the development for the next 5 to 10 years. So it's not
exciting times, though.
It's not made just in 1 year.
Yeah.
But and we also have to sell the idea. But now that as far as the revenues are concerned, we think that being an intelligent developer of our land, that will be a development function that we have.
Yeah.
Will in future make has to bring a much larger contribution to our revenues than up to today. And it's a learning curve for us as well.
But it's an exciting...
So it's a little bit trial and error.
Yeah.
But, and you have to believe in it. You have to design this program. What we have achieved so far is that people understand what we would like to do there, especially in the development sector. And that now the first companies also become a little bit experimental. It's an experiment. Experimental and start a unit here.
And if it works, it's another thing that you'll be able to export and be a specialist at.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Now, if I was to ask you, with everything that you've done, what do you do? How do you relax? How do you take things away from the work?
Well, what people do not understand so often is that because I love my job, it's not, it's so hard work on the one hand, and I have to relax. Yeah, I do love people. I love to be in communities, in groups. I love to communicate. So most of the things I do, I love. Even if I have a very, very compact day with others would consider that to be stressy, for me it doesn't often feel stress. The only real stress I have is with politicians.
Yeah, runways.
Some are not reliable. They change their minds. They are not courageous. Yeah, all these things. Yeah, and that's really probably the toughest part that I have. It's an important part of my work.
Yeah,
that's tough. But generally speaking, I do not very much separate these life elements in myself. When I'm at home, for example, I sleep very, very well. Yeah?
that's a wonderful thing.
I sleep very well, even if we have chaos at the airport. I mean, I can't personally solve for example, a security incident that we have. So we have to have operational procedures in place that work. And always you find something which could be better. So a good debriefing and what do we learn from this is a must. But I trust my people that operationally in these issues they are professional enough to solve this question. The problem is always that a minister appears and then the crisis, and he then would like to be this big manager managing this crisis. We all know this is for the show. The crisis is managed by those people I mentioned before. Yeah.
Well, what I do know, your people in the airport, you do an awful lot of self-assessments, verification, validation, audits, all the training.
So
it's all part of the
very
whole thing.
well because I trust my people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's lovely.
Thing.
That's good. That's very good. Now, if I was to ask your son or your wife Priscilla, what would they like to see change in you? What do you think they'd say?
Well, they always would say, be more present at home.
Time, yeah. Everybody says the same thing.
Yeah, but I would also say that. Yeah, I try. But as my wife is also engaged in the aviation industry, so I do not have so many problems to explain what I do.
What does she do?
She's with a facility company.
Okay, very good.
And so she knows, the 24/7 requirements of an airport. So I don't need to explain my job or my business.
Yeah, that's always a help.
And my son also works in at least an industry that contributes to the well-being of aviation, because he is with a big duty-free provider, but does the software there. So I get input from him. How does the customer change? So what do we have to do? Things like that. So we do have a lot of interchange there.
So a lot of insight and a lot of free consultancy from the family.
Yes.
Always works well.
But I'm also already a grandpa, but I love to also be a grandpa.
That's a lovely thing, huh?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I myself as well. I've just got one. Yeah, little Nelly, and she's. People tell you that it all changes, but it actually does, doesn't it? It gives you a different outlook. It's brilliant.
I mean, that's the next generation. So you learn with them again.
Yes, yeah, and it's great fun. Yeah. And you see things that you forgot that you've seen with your own children, which is lovely. It's lovely, yeah, brilliant. Now, I want to ask you another question. So, son and your wife, what would the song be that they would say 100% Michael will always want to get up, dance, have a little move? What would the song be?
Probably Jump from Van Halen.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Well, we'll put that one down, Salem. That'll go on the playlist. No, very good. Now, very quickly, back to what's happening now. So we know about the satellite terminal, and you've got East Midfield or Midfield Terminal. Do you want to explain a little bit about what's going on at the moment now, which is going to take the capacity up over the next few years?
At the moment, we do have this interesting debate in the context of climate change, activists and Greta Thunberg.
All over, everywhere, huh?
Extinction, rebellion. And there's always this vision of doomsday, and the whole world will vanish and stop traveling. I can only say this is the wrong question, because there is no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt that air traffic will grow.
Yeah,
everywhere. And it's not the question whether, it's only the question how are we able to cope with it, and are we doing it sustainable? Those are the big questions. So we address both. One is, of course, the expansion program, a classical analog expansion. We don't have a lobby anymore for analog projects. So I'm always also communicating to politics, to media. If you always talk about the digital age, don't forget the analog backbone, because they fit together, and they have to fit together, and they are basic requirements for the capability of society to cope with the future. Yep. So we also need the analog infrastructure. So we do the classical thing, building terminals. We need a runway. Up to now, we have the money, we have the approval, but politicians don't decide because of they fear protests or any short-term political agenda they have.
But it makes so much sense here.
Yeah, you are from outside, so you are not a neighbor.
Yeah.
So those who are not neighbors, they would always say, "Well, look at this wonder. You have enough. You have enough room to grow. Yeah, there's enough space. Not many people affected by a new runway. Yeah, that's true. But emotionally, with the whole intensity of direct participation here, it's communicative-wise difficult, and of course, it's not cool to argue for analog infrastructure. Everybody uses it. I mean, when you look at the young people, how much they fly. But there are also those who in the end, address climate issues.
Yeah.
Politically, which is a little bit schizophrenic.
Yeah.
But to cope with this emotionally and getting support for, we get more efficient in aviation if we get this runway. It's just not contributing to a better climate if we don't get the runway, because I know that you will go on flying like that, so we will have growth.
Exactly, somewhere else.
That's emotionally very, very difficult to understand and to accept. Yeah, that you have both sides in yourself. And so we have the way we communicate is very, very...
It's extremes.
It's also very challenging to reach people, even if they understand the next step, that from understanding they support you in a controversial issue where there is a firm opinion of the media what to do and not to do.
Yep.
That's probably the most challenging thing.
Yeah, but like you said, you've said so many times, the secret of most success is communication. Yeah. And sometimes the way people are communicated and social media, it puts things in people's minds that that isn't the full overview.
So what we do is this analog expansion, but the other thing is that we also prepare for future developments wherever they are. Maybe it's a change in mobility patterns, access to the airport, landside infrastructure. We try to sort of understand what it means if you talk about autonomous driving, or what it means about a change of mobility patterns, because in the end it's a fact that all cities are congested. Something has to happen.
Yep.
we are very much involved in intermodality issues. So I would like to have a long distance train railway station here within the Trans-European Network idea, which is in the end possible. And we would also at least finance part, or we already finance part of it, has also to be politically decided. Building a new rail track is as complicated as building a new runway. So there are a lot of inconsistencies in all these things. And then the digital world, and what is very new is now cyber security, but not only the physical one, but also
cyber security is terrible.
So we set up a cyber security hub here, where you can learn and train your airport people.
Oh, fantastic.
How to counter-attack a cyber attack. Yeah. But there's also a learning curve.
Yep.
So not getting that vulnerable. So we have threats that we never thought of 20 years ago.
Exactly.
And we have to find answers. Digital world, how will the end customer behave in future? Is it true that we will lose our prime position or our exclusive position, for example, in retail, in duty free? The physical process of, you're entitled by your boarding pass to buy something, tax free. Is that the process of the future? The logistic process of the future?
Yeah.
Will we have the same development and high street developments? Probably not, by the way.
Exactly. That's going to change. Already has.
Yeah, it changes, but not to that extent that you would experience at high street.
Yeah.
That's at least the hypothesis that we have at the moment. But can you, for example, separate all physical processes that you have at the airport, also for example, also the bag process, but also the retail process, from your travel process? Those are all future questions that we try to explore. We don't have answers to that yet. It's at least my.
But nothing's crazy anymore. Everybody has learned what you thought might not happen.
Yeah,
will most definitely happen.
It's a big learning curve, and there is not one answer.
Yeah. Can I ask you something about embracing drones? So obviously, some airports have had problems now with drones and shutting an airport down.
Every airport will have problems, and it's a severe threat. And when you look at expected numbers of growth of drones, I hope it's not only a matter of time that something happens, because regulation always is behind.
Yeah.
Of course, we do have formal regulations in Germany. There's a regulation that you are not allowed to fly into an airport space,
but that brings also a security zone.
But that also drone development is inexpensive and gets so sophisticated. So regulation is always behind.
Yeah.
And how to have a working procedure to really make an airport safe under the drone's perspective is not that easy. That's one development. The other development is that you see already the emergence of new transportation systems. Yeah, the volocopter, the Lilium electric aircraft things.
Yep.
Where you will have air taxis, maybe big drones, huh? Just as an image. Coming to the airport, adding to the quality of the intermodality, theoretically.
Yeah.
But practically, to manage this, that's highly complicated because it interferes with existing ATC procedures, with slot management procedures and so on. So that's really something that we are focusing on now, because the technological development is there. First prototypes are there. First tests are made. We are also participating in a test with new smart small electric aircraft. And that raises a lot of new other questions at a huge hub that we are, infrastructure-wise. So really new developments, no satisfying answers so far.
Yeah, but it opens up. I mean, it's exciting times ahead. Now, speaking about ahead and looking back, what would you say were the most passionate, emotional, positive experiences you've had in your time here at Munich?
Oh, I had many.
No, sure. I'm sure you've had several every month. But the standout one, if you had to award yourself with the top 3 best feelings you've had since you've been in Munich, what do you think they'd be?
There was certainly classic things like opening Terminal 2.
Yeah.
The relocation of A380 from Frankfurt to Munich. That was, in the end, the maturity level of this airport, that we are able to fill A380 through our network. We celebrated our 25th birthday, which was a fantastic event with concerts, with the community, because in the end, it is still, you could still feel the community feeling of that, the addiction people have working at Munich Airport. And that's an emotionally overwhelming feeling. Yeah? That you, in the end, I'm sort of a clan boss, who oversees everything here at the airport, and to see your family happy, airport family of thousands of people, that's an emotional flash.
And something, that's wonderful and a great milestone. But something that I thought was great when I read it was the your own brewery.
Yeah, well,
and the Mac Forum.
Yeah.
But your own brewery.
Yeah.
And how €1 out of the 3 or whatever for a beer goes into development. It's fantastic.
That's right. To explain the business model of Munich Airport, I always say we'll go to our brewery, and the brewery is really is in the cellar. And we also, I don't know whether you know, but Bavaria has the seasonality of beers.
Yes.
So we have different beers. We are just in the Oktoberfest season.
Yep.
So for the Oktoberfest, we also brew Oktoberfest beer, which is, by the way, stronger. So beware when you go to the Oktoberfest. The beer is really strong.
Yeah.
And to explain the business model, I said, well, let's have a beer in the Airbräu, which is our air brew, which is the place to go, the beer garden under our wonderful roof.
Yeah.
And when you pay €3, which is very inexpensive for half a liter of beer.
Yeah.
But you must be aware that €1 of what you pay is for the runway. So that's the way.
Yeah.
That's the way how we finance then this big development program, because out of aviation charges we can't do that anymore.
Yeah. But it encourages people to enjoy themselves, and whilst they're enjoying themselves, they've got more opportunities coming.
And what I'm very proud of, but that's more a development, that's not a one-off event, is still the beauty of this airport, because this creates an in the end, an emotional room for people. I sometimes tell my people, when I have negotiations with trade unions, I always say, why do you want more money from me? I want more money from you, because, every morning I provide every single employee of Munich Airport with a positive flash when he enters our main central street road to the airport. He sees this enlightened M. You have the sunrise on the right hand side. You do see the Alps, and so you see the beauty of this airport with our roof and our control tower, which is iconic. So why do you want money from me? I would like to have money from you.
I think that I could imagine how that goes down. But it is beautiful. It's lovely.
Yeah, and beauty. And one of the very important things that we pursued was that we care for this beauty. So sometimes people ask me, why do you, what makes this airport so special? And I ask them, But you say it's nice, but you know why is it nice? And I always say because we sometimes don't do things other airports do. We could have in the end get a lot of more revenue out of advertising our central alley to the airport. We don't do it because it destroys the whole atmosphere of the airport. So we sort of do not realize revenue opportunities for the sake of
just ching ching. It's got to fit in.
It's got to fit in, but we don't want to destroy the impression of an organic, big. I mean, in the end, it's a very big industrial infrastructure.
Yep.
But it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm so pleased you used the word care, because I think everybody needs to. They use that word a little bit flippantly every now and again, not even realising they've said it. But if people believe in it, and I'm so pleased you said about care. And I love acronyms, and for me, it's consider all responsibilities everywhere. So it's not just about ching ching, and I really like that. I think that's a great thing that you've done there. Now, I asked you about the nicest things that have happened. What would you say are the things that you just wish you could have another 10 years and fix them and put them in place? What would they be?
No, I also had defeats, yeah. You have to mention that, yeah, because in the end you cannot always be. It's not all in your own responsibility, but not having got the runway yet, and not getting the maglev train, which I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Which was a very, very important, innovative project that was also stopped by citizens' action groups. That's a real bad defeat.
But it's still a challenge. It's not gone.
Well, I don't know, but it's not my responsibility anymore.
And what will you miss? What will you miss the most now?
Well, I'm still fully in charge. The community, the people, I will miss certainly. Friendships. Well, the friendships will stay.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful hub in the widest sense, communication, emotional hub. I mean, it's a city. We do have everything here.
Yes, yeah.
And I always said, well, the only thing we don't have is housing, but
coming.
But it's coming. We have churches, we have prayer rooms, we have a clinic. Yeah, we have bars. We have everything. We have a hotel.
So you'll soon have your own aviation school, aviation town.
Yeah, we have a academy, university, things like that. So everything is here.
That's fantastic. And I'm pretty sure you'll keep involved in some way or another.
Yeah, one will see. The only thing I would like to have now, after 25 years without in the end a break and a real break, maybe I should look how I can cope with some unstructured time.
I'm sure you'll do it, but I'm sure you'll keep in touch, because something else that is something that we're trying to push as well is, after being in this industry for 40 odd years, I've met so many people that I've had so much respect for and have done so much, and I just think it's a shame if they just drop completely out of it. And then I see so many youngsters coming in who are so energetic and enthusiastic, and they could get a little bit of an extra push and a little bit of an extra pull and a little bit of if we as an industry could bridge the new with the olds, so that the new became better than anybody would ever have thought, and realising that, experience and energy and innocence and a little bit of understanding can go an awfully long way. So I think there'll be a lot of people knocking on your door, Michael.
The door is open.
And now, as I said at the beginning, I've got to come up with a title for your book, which I've done, and I've put it From Trains to Planes, My World Has Grown. Welcome to my airport, city, my home, Mr. M.
Thank you very much. Has still to be written, that book.
But everybody's got one book in them. Okay. Everybody's got one book, and I'm pretty sure you'd have some very exciting chapters. And I would just like to congratulate you on everything you've done. And I know it's a team, but every team needs a captain or they need a motivator. And
I do have to mention one last thing, because that maybe is special. For the 25th birthday of this airport, I wrote a song. I don't know whether you know that.
Well,
it's also on.
Yeah, we definitely need to know this one. Go on.
Yeah, it's also on YouTube.
Is it?
Yeah, but you do not really find it because it's on the company page. I mean, it's not. We did not really actually.
Michael, we will find it.
But it's a graphic novel. And it is, in the end, a song about this airport. And I'm singing with my band. I have written this song. And just give them some exposure, but it's in German.
Doesn't matter. What sort of, what is it?
It's the
like
song
country style?
No, it's a rock pop song. And it is, the name is Klar, which means clear, yeah. And the hook line is "Jetzt sind wir klar," which addresses now everybody is ready. Yeah. And it, in the end, looks at different aspects of airport operations, business, and so on. It's an emotional song, and I performed that I composed it for the 25th birthday of the airport, and of course I performed it as well.
And what instrument do you play?
I played the keyboards.
Okay, because I'm telling you this now, seriously, we're putting a band together called the Cargo Nuts.
Okay.
And we've had so many people who have got so much skills. Yeah. So what we're going to do it for one of the conferences. Yeah. So we'll invite you.
Okay, good.
No, seriously, we'll invite you. So it'll be something and the Cargo Nuts.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, we'll dig that up, Simon. That'd be good.
So listen to that, and it was we really professionally went to a studio for one day. We didn't have much time, and the result is what you can do within a day. Yeah, but I think it's pretty good.
Ah, very good. Yeah. We'll definitely have a listen to that.
We will add the song to the end of the show.
Okay.
Oh, we might even put a little chorus or something at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one. Seriously though, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. I've heard so much about you, and again, what you've achieved is exceptional, and it really is a beautiful place, Munich. And we're going to look forward to having a little bit of further taste before we fly out tonight. And I've been in so many times, whether it's skiing or business. Beautiful place, nice people, and well done. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, and fly often. We need that.
Yeah. and we'll also try and have a few more beers, put a few more euros in the coffers. Yeah,
there's still this financial gap to finance the runway. Yeah. So go on drinking.
It'll come. Keep drinking. Yeah. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Michael.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Am 17. haben wir ja Geburtstag und ich habe ja noch gar kein Geschenk. Es müsste was Besonderes sein, was Persönliches und etwas, worüber sich jeder freut. Na klar, ich hab's.
Früh morgens raus, die Schicht beginnt. Airport im Moos, Luft rein und klar. Die großen Vögel wollen starten. Runway 08, sehr viel Verkehr. Der Brachvogel, der brütet und schaut dem Treiben zu. Der Tag kann jetzt beginnen, jetzt sind wir klar. Jetzt sind wir klar. Jetzt sind wir klar. Jetzt sind wir klar. Oben im Tower, da gibt's Funkverkehr. Und unten am Boden wird sauber gemacht. Unter der Erde rast das Gepäck und rund ums Flugzeug, da wird geschafft. Im Meerbräu wird gefeiert, schnell noch Duty Free. Die Mannschaft steht sehr gut, jetzt sind wir klar. Jetzt sind wir klar. Jetzt sind wir klar. Jetzt sind wir klar. Verbindung leben, das macht uns aus. Und unsere Familien und auch die Freunde, die sind uns wichtig, die Nachbarn auch. Wir mögen diesen Airport, eine Schönheit ist er auch. Mit großem Herz und Soul, jetzt sind wir klar. Oh, jetzt sind wir klar. Jetzt sind wir klar. Jetzt sind wir klar. Yeah, jetzt sind wir klar. Jetzt sind wir klar. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Jetzt sind wir klar.
Happy Birthday, Flughafen.